Thanks.
So I just want to make sure we are live on both platforms. Give me a second. Check whether we are live on DGT and on Facebook.
Check on Facebook.
Yes. If you're live on our end. I can confirm we're live on YouTube. I can confirm we're live on YouTube. Oops, let me mute that. Is it live? Yes, we are live on Facebook as well.
Which page? Are you on the DGT page?
Yes, we are live on the DGT page. Okay, so we'll start. Drop the comments if you can hear us clearly. Welcome to today's live chat. Masi Mutemi over here.
Maria Mbeneka here.
So welcome to the chat. This is our third week of the podcast, and we'd like to know what you guys think about the podcast. Tell us whether our sound is okay on this live, if you can hear us clearly. Drop your questions. We'll be taking your questions live. We'll be answering them in this live. Give us your thoughts. Oh, Liz! Liz is here. Liz is here with us. She says we are loud and clear. Thank you, Liz.
Hi, Lizzie.
Yeah, Maria, do you want to recap episode 2? Do you want to talk about episode 2 as we wait for people to join in?
Yeah, so episode 2 was basically one of my favorite ones. We nicknamed it Kime Bio, and I quite liked that. I really enjoyed it, actually, recording it, because it just brings to mind a lot of things very Kenyan. So, the way we say Kime Bio. So basically, this is something that happened to a fellow who was banking with one of the commercial banks in Kenya. And apparently a transaction was made out of his account. And that account, he was operating, what is it called? Internet banking. And he apparently gave instructions that turned out not to be from him to the bank. And then the bank went ahead and made 2 payments. Fortunately, one payment was stopped, but one wasn't. And 3.2 million shillings, was it 3.4 million shillings, left his account. And so began a long journey of trying to recover the money. And of course, the bank passing the buck, saying that it was his fault. And he ended up suing the bank. And the court actually upheld a judgment in his favor, but levied the responsibility on both the bank and the account holder. So it was quite an interesting podcast for me, because we were able to look at things that are actually happening today. A lot of people are losing money either knowingly or unknowingly in their, with their bank accounts. And just looking at the convenience of operating online accounts. And these are products that banks are selling to us every day, that from the comfort of your house or your mobile phone, you can be able to make transactions. If you've traveled, you can have your payroll and stuff like that. So if you're online and you're doing a lot of online banking, this is something that you really need to be aware of. How secure is your account? What kind of steps have you taken as an individual? What kind of steps has your bank taken to ensure that there's no fraud, being occasioned on your account? Reminds me also, Mercy, of an incident where actually got into a situation that was similar to this, and they had to engage the services of an ethical hacker to trace, what the root cause of the problem was. But basically, this is a client who had a lot of on payments and a lot of their correspondence via email. So basically hacked, and this person was able to clone their email address and send an email to their client, to the now my client's client, and then be able to access their account. So they lost money in that transaction, but they were able to track the source of the fraud.
It's so funny. Since we aired that episode on identity fraud, so many people have been writing to me. Oh, I know someone who lost money like this, and I know someone who lost something like this. And it's I don't know. It's a funny coincidence, like a really bad coincidence, that my mom was also a victim of those kind of scams. But hers was, yeah, it was interesting. And but hers was, someone sent her a text message, and the text message had like when you touch the name of the sender, it automatically, like, they automatically hack you. So it wasn't even anything on her part. So it's so common. This kind of scams are really common that it's a bit scary, actually.
Yeah.
So, but then the thing is that fine, we've talked about what could happen. How about protecting yourself? How about making sure it doesn't happen? I think that's where our conversation today should be really about, is like how to protect yourself. I think, like in the case we covered on the podcast, Mitch Kilonzi's case, I won't say his fault, but the problem was he used email. And with email, it's so hard to tell what's legit and what's not legit. Sometimes even when you receive these emails from the banks, sometimes I just wonder, does this person even work at the bank? Because our banks haven't really invested in cybersecurity so majorly that sometimes the email address could be coming from like a Gmail account. You're like, why would you email me from a Gmail account if you're working from a bank? Or it doesn't even have like the logo of the bank at the signature of the email, at the bottom signature of the email. So I've always, should you really correspond sensitive information via email? But then sometimes you can only protect yourself to some extent, because this must have been someone who clearly knew Mitch, for them to know his company, his letterhead, like even clone his letterhead, like really. That was someone who must really have known him on another level. My email is not the safest. I think there are better ways of communicating with email. I don't know what's your current favorite way of banking, because I like what you were saying. The banks are so they're so energetic in pushing their products. It's like, click here for a loan.
Yeah.
You don't even have to fill any form. Or it's like, do you want a loan? It's here. Like, just open the application. Will just happen to you. Very funny text messages from my bank. You now qualify for $1 million loan. I'm like, who asked? Who told you I wanted $1 million for half a loan? And they're like, repay us.
Matthew, they're selling money. They're in business. So I think if you're in business, and the more active you are actually on your account, the more they're likely to send you these messages. And they just study your behavior. And I think this is what you talked about earlier when you talked about the Internet of Things. and people are actually able to track your online activity, including your bank. So they'll see when you made your withdrawals, they'll see when you sent your M-Pesa. If you're those guys who send M-Pesa at night, on Friday night, you're paying your bills, or at club, you're chopping your money. If you're doing those kinds of transactions, then you'll see them sending you some certain type of messages depending on your activity. But I guess for if you're moving large sums of money, if you're doing your payroll, if you're receiving deposits and so on and so forth, well, the truth of the matter is that it's convenient to have internet banking. What you need to do is have several levels of authentication or access to that account, especially where it's a serious business account. And some banks have tools that they give you so that it's like 3 or 4 steps. By the time you get into that account, it's serious. In fact, sometimes you're thinking, I'm about to do my payroll, so I need like an hour of prep
Yeah.
and good internet, because it's quite
Yeah.
stressful if you try and do it from your mobile, because mobiles are not considered as secure as doing it from your laptop or desktop. Another thing is to remember when you're using, especially because of now, I know public Wi-Fi, and that's a really big no-no, especially when you're doing your banking, because if you're logged onto a public Wi-Fi, other people can see your activity, and this is like a fertile ground for hackers, and they always wait for these guys who have no idea about the perils of Wi-Fi. And so you guys who like asking for kama iko Wi-Fi, please don't try that, especially if you're doing banking or leaving your pages open. Like, you see, if your tab is open, you've just been doing your banking and you've signed out, people can still be able to access your account. So it's very, very important for you just to use your private networks or your just hotspot on your phone or something, especially when you're doing those transactions. Another level of security is to ensure you have virus on your device they provide a certain level of comfort. I don't know if you can still.
Yes. I got you very
Okay.
clearly.
Okay. Yeah. So, ensuring that you have your antivirus on your laptop, on your desktop, is really, really important. Don't auto-save your passwords. And I think many of the banks actually make it difficult for you to use the same password for a long time. So if you're doing your internet banking, you're encouraged to change your password regularly. And they have, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 levels of authentication before you actually authorize a payment. You can have a third level if you're authorizing a certain amount, either over 500,000 or 1 million shillings or so on and so forth. You can have the bank call or email, you're making that transaction. Yes, Liz, juice jacking, that's what it's called. Yeah, you said public charging spots. Yes, absolutely. Public charging spots, I know, are very attractive, especially when you're traveling and you need to charge your phone. Those are actual, you know, hotspots for you to actually get, to get, to get hacked. Yeah, so I don't know what questions people have, for us about the podcast, about Kimeibiwo and about that case. The judge found that the money had to be refunded, so the bank bore liability in that case. And Mitch
Let me
Kilonzi,
let me
welcome.
let me tell you what I think about online banking.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, you can have all these layers of security, but I don't think there's anything such as 100%
Security.
100% secure when it comes to
Yeah.
anything online. For example,
Mm-hmm.
if someone stole your laptop,
Mm-hmm.
they would have access to so much, especially if you're using maybe like Apple products.
Yes.
Even if you had a two-factor authentication process, fine,
Mm.
you'll try and log in, someone will try and log into your bank account. The bank will
Yeah.
will send a code to text, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for people with maybe a Mac and an iPhone, you're able sometimes to sync your messages to your laptop. So when the message comes in, you can just see it is there. The bank, the bank secret code comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So they can hack you using your own security system.
Yeah.
That's the thing with uh, with online, anything online. It's secure, but to only a certain extent. Past that, you can't really protect you.
Yeah.
I personally like a mix of both, like online and offline measures. For example, a lot of banks have the USSD method of doing banking. It's tedious. I assure you, 100% tedious. You think online is annoying? Try try USSD, you will give up in the middle. And then what do you that day the network is not like tip top? Oh,
Yeah.
you want to just pay someone 500 shillings. My God, you'll do like that transaction like 10 times just to do
Yeah.
500. And then every time you have to go through the exact same process. No autosave, no your password won't just pop in. It hasn't saved any of your frequent payments, so you have to
Mm.
really literally you have to type in each and every one of them. So it's very
Yeah.
tedious, but I like it because number one, if someone ever stole my phone, they wouldn't know where I bank. Like you don't know, I
Mm.
don't have an app on my phone that says Stanchart or Equity or Cooperative Bank. You wouldn't know where I bank because I don't have an app for it. If you went to my Google history, still you can't get access to any of my banking history. Which, by the way, is the
Yeah.
other thing that I think is important to do. Like once you're done with your banking, delete your history.
Yeah.
Delete your history, especially because most of the settings we have on our computers are on autosave. You don't want to keep going to Facebook or Instagram and keying in your password all the time. So what we've done a lot of the times is we've told the computer to remember. So you have to make a deliberate effort to tell the computer to forget your banking instructions
Mm.
because it's not automatic. Sometimes the computer has already been set to remember, which is also the problem of doing transactions on public Wi-Fi or even cyber cafes is very, very dangerous. Someone is just
Mm.
watching for the person who is about to sleep up. Yeah, but again, yeah, that's what I was saying. USSD for me makes a lot of sense. It's not as convenient as online banking, but I feel it's more secure because no one would even know what you do or where you bank. But
Mm.
the thing with USSD, when the bank sends you back these messages, this is your bank balance, this is you need to delete all of them immediately. You need to be very proactive in
Absolutely.
deleting your messages from the bank. Yeah. How about
Absolutely.
the a few weeks on Twitter, like this was trending. People were complaining about like phone calls. Like you get a phone call from someone
Mm-hmm.
who's pretending that like they work from the bank, and then some of them give pins, others maybe give away the answer to security questions or things like that,
Yeah.
and then through
Yeah.
that they get hacked. Yeah, I think that's something we should talk about because as I was saying in the podcast, you and me might not be like the first people to fall for that scam, but then it's going to be someone like very close to us who's going to fall for it just because they haven't had more conversations on cybersecurity. Yeah, what do you
Mm.
think about that one?
I think a lot of people are, getting enrolled on mobile platforms, and mobile banking is really, really popular amongst many Kenyans, especially small traders or small entrepreneurs. And anybody who's got money on their phone is basically operating a mobile bank account. So what happens is that if I'm a fraudster and I'm targeting 100 shillings from each person I call, and maybe I have a hit list of 100 people, I'm likely to walk away with quite some good change. So what people do is they'll call you and say that they're calling you from Safaricom or they're calling you from your bank, and say that we have a system. You remember how Safaricom change? They send you messages when they say they're working on their M-Pesa system, or they're
Yeah,
working
yeah.
on, on something. And basically, these guys call you, and because sometimes you're not paying attention, you are likely to just believe what the caller is saying. So a lot of people get conned that way, because what those guys do, the fraudsters do, is they have, if they have Truecaller, they'll probably see your name. Or they just have your name, maybe from those we discussed these things, and I remember when we talked about it.
Yeah, yeah.
How when you go into a building, because of security, you write your name, you write your phone number, you write your ID number, and this guy just probably pays the watchman something and has access to your basic information. And remember, your ID is used as a unique identifier in many places, in your bank, in with when you're registering for M-Pesa, if you're registering for now Huduma number. Um, you're basically, your information is out there. So what this person does is call and say, "Hi, am I speaking to Mercy?" And say, "Yes." Or, "Your name is Mercy Sumbi?" "Yes." "Is your ID number XYZ1234?" And you say yes. So you say, "I'm calling," and you see, the minute somebody gives you those particular details, it's very easy for you to believe them. And when they sound professional, and they say they're calling from Safaricom or
Yeah.
wherever, Airtel or wherever, and we want to let you know that we're working on something, but we need you to give us your PIN so that we can ensure that your account is secure. So a lot of people who have not had a chance to either read about this or hear about this experience from other people are likely to do so. And before you know it, Gafla bin Vu, your account has been closed. And the minute even you go on some websites, like this online shopping that we do,
Yeah.
because now it's become very, very convenient for people to shop online. They shop on Amazon, shop on Jumia, you shop on all this, Alibaba, and so on and so forth. Some of those details, including your email address and your PIN, especially if you leave your browser open, are susceptible to hackers. So what people end up doing, and I remember this happened to me once many years ago, is some person in the States bought, I can't remember what they bought. I think they bought socks and some, they bought clothes online and used my bank account details. So I got a message on text that a payment has been made on your card for this for the following or this store, and it's a store in the States. So I was, and those were like maybe like 10 years ago, and I wasn't doing that kind of purchasing. So you can imagine the shock. So immediately I called my bank, and they were able to stop that transaction. And I was basically able to change my email address, then stop that transaction, and then I actually blocked that shopping site, which will not be named, but a lot of people use it. A lot of people use it. So if okay, those days I also didn't have an antivirus. I learned the hard way. I had to get an antivirus on my laptop, and basically became very, very careful about the kind of purchases I make. So because more and more we're getting to the point where, as people across the world, we're making online purchases and registering our details online, it's very, very important for people to remember that you can't just share your information easily. You should be able to find out what kind of website it is, because it could also be a website that has cloned itself. Like, I'm really,
Yeah.
really worried about, in as much as people are excited. My friend Jackie, I don't know if she's following this live stream. She loves making fun of me because she remembers how I told her not to register for the Huduma number, and for a while she was feeling sorry for herself because she was saying she should have listened to me. So when it was unveiled yesterday at Gusi, she was the first person to text me and say she's waiting for her Huduma number. Um, yeah, she's really excited about it. So I just wonder how, whether people are actually aware of the consequences of sharing a unique number such as your ID number, because
Yes.
that is the one, what we call the unique identifier, that runs through all your documentation, whether it's with the
Yeah.
police, whether it's with the bank, whether it's the birth certificate, death certificate. People get conned all the time, and people actually open up accounts and steal your identity. So
Yeah,
if you're,
in fact, let's talk a little bit about that, Maria.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
like in the podcast, the case we highlighted was purely about identity theft, which
yeah,
really is, I mean, it's a fancy word, yes, but it's
mm,
really someone assuming your identity and then
yeah,
using your identity to make transactions for themselves. So they pretend
yes,
they're Mercy. They even have your ID number or something. Like in this case, they had documentation that, like, it shows anyone who would dare doubt, no,
mhm,
I am the person I am claiming to be.
yeah,
So it just reminds me of a criminal case we did last year, uh, of SIM cards. And these guys were buying SIM cards in bulk and registering them like they were legit SIM cards activated. Because for you to get activated, you have to register the SIM card in someone's name and in someone's ID. But then they were getting the SIM cards from one person. And we're not talking about like 5 SIM cards, we're talking about like 20,000 SIM cards in a day.
yo,
20,000, yeah, I'm not 20,000 SIM cards like one day, and all of
are these
them
those Chinese
activated.
guys who are busted
Yes,
kama in Mutaiga?
yes,
Wow.
those were Chinese guys.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
the actual work was being done by Kenyan guys. The Chinese guys were just the top layer of the situation. So the actual registration was being done by M-Pesa agents. So when they're in court and they're being questioned, they tell you how they do it, like because you have to sign when you're doing any M-Pesa transaction, you have to sign on a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the book, they have the name and they have the ID number, which really is all you need to register a SIM card.
Mm.
So you find there are like 10 SIM cards registered in the name of Maria. You only have the one that you use, but someone else is somewhere busy borrowing loans in your name because they have a SIM card registered to Maria.
So what were they doing with these SIM cards?
So in that case, they were using it for, in China, you can only have one SIM card.
Yes.
So if you want to cheat on your wife, if you want to carry out any criminal activity, you can't because you only have that one SIM card. And it's highly monitored by the government. So it's funny. The way they put it, a lot of the people who wanted new SIM cards are people who wanted to carry out affairs. But you see, yeah, you would think it's for something serious, but it's not. Yeah, a lot of them wanted just to have affairs or to do like something illegal.
But these are Kenyan SIM cards.
So the SIM card is what gets you a WeChat account. They don't like WhatsApp
right.
is not as big in China as WeChat. So
yeah,
WeChat is what's there, and then WeChat is integrated like even financially. You can carry out financial transactions on there. You can do anything you want on a WeChat SIM card. But now you need a SIM card in any country for you to be able to download an account and register an account, just like you would with WhatsApp. Like you'd need an independent SIM card. So they would buy like 20,000 per day or even like 40,000 per day and then register like 40,000 WeChat accounts and then sell the accounts.
My goodness.
Yeah. So you're over here in your sweet Nanyuki, you're just having your life. But your account is big in Guangzhou.
You're dogging on WeChat.
You have a WeChat. You're just chatting someone's husband out there. You're chatting someone's husband out there. Yo, can we chat? It's midnight. And then, in the username, it shows Maria Meneka wants to chat you up. You're like,
oh my
so
God.
identity theft is a real thing. And I think it will reach to a point where the mobile money guys will have to be smart about it. Like even hotels are smarter than that. Hotels don't leave your okay, the ones that are coming up right now, they don't leave your tab just open like that. They use
Yeah.
a computer tablet. At least that is a good one. We cheat, not we chat, we cheat.
Yeah, that's Cynthia.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, we cheat. That is so funny, by the way. Anyway, so even in restaurants, they hide your tab on a tablet. They don't just
Yeah,
leave it
yeah,
lying around there because they know someone can get poisoned. Like if you were serving a VIP, someone can
yeah,
access their tab and poison them, things like that. So
yeah,
you
yeah.
hide it a bit. So why details like M-Pesa? Why leave them like
Mm,
that? Here's
mm,
another instance. I had a chat some time back with a guy who's in security. His company is contracted to do security for private buildings.
yeah.
So you know how you go to a building and you leave your ID.
Hmm.
So when you leave your ID, you've gone upstairs. You're even going to just maybe take a document and come back down. So in
Yeah,
that 3 minutes you've gone upstairs and come back, they photocopied your ID.
yeah,
So
man.
what they would do,
Yeah. Or
yeah.
you join a
So
political party.
yeah, so there's
Mm,
that. There's how come people are members of political parties and they've never really like joined. So in what they do with the database, because they're not really interested in you as a person, they're interested in the information. They
yes,
don't
yes,
they don't track me and know where I live, which is
yes,
I think what for a long time people are scared of is like you'll access me. So
yeah,
that's not what they're after. They're after your information and the kind of patterns your behavior shows.
yes,
So he would tell me like they would create a database and they would know like in this building there were 20 women today. They look like this. How many had weaves? So we know this building is frequented by maybe people in a certain age group. Yeah. So then they would tell the landlord, don't rent out this building to people who don't have this kind of clientele. Yeah.
huh?
So
Are you serious?
yeah, I'm very, very serious. They even restaurants. I think there's a building in Westlands now that takes your takes a picture, takes a scan of your facial features before you enter.
Without your knowledge?
No, I think they tell you what you don't have is an opt out. They don't give you the option to not do that. You see, maybe you need to go for an official visit. So what business do you have? Like giving you a scan of your retina or something to someone.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
for you to
yeah.
enter that building, it's either you give us your information or you bust. What do you think they're doing? You think they're just sitting down on it and just
No,
chilling?
they're selling that information. That's for
Yeah,
sure, for
they're
sure, for sure.
profiling you. They're profiling you and selling the information. And one of the reasons, actually, most of people were complaining about the, sorry to say, equity scam is
Mm,
because of, I think, the Equitel Connect. Like people are going to register for SIM cards and then for an Equitel account, then immediately you're scammed. And the
mm,
simple
mm,
explanation is that you've given a lot of information to these people
mm,
such that they're
mm.
able to access your account details.
But now we have the Data Protection Act in place, and we are going to
Yeah.
have a data commissioner soon, in place. What does that portend for data and the responsibilities? I think the bigger issue is the responsibility that is placed on the data, not the data commissioner per se, but the what are they called? The data
The controllers
controllers,
and the,
data controllers.
yeah.
Correct. So that responsibility, what happens if, for example, I'm a bank, for example, I have your information, and then there are those guys who list you on CRB.
Mhm.
What is the level of authorization I should get from the customer to allow me to share that information with a third party? Because if I give you, as the bank, my information, I don't expect you to give that information to a third party or a fourth party, to actually use that information to either do trend analysis or to look at my credit history and either blacklist me or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that it's been
Yeah,
happening,
it's
and
happening.
yes, and there's been sharing of data across platforms, especially if you register. And you remember this notorious behavior we discussed when we were in the committee, at the ICT committee, where we were talking about predatory lending. How does
Yeah,
Tala get my information, yet I've never taken a loan with them, but I've probably borrowed from M-Pesa, or I'm just saying, for example, I've borrowed on these other many, online mobile lending platforms. Yet three, four, five other, apps have my information. How does that happen? And what do we expect now that we have a Data Protection Act in place?
Definitely these people are sharing your information. There's no doubt about that. We don't know who is sharing out the information, but we know information is being shared
Yeah.
on a large scale, on a proper large scale. And for a long time, they were able to hide under terms and conditions. A lot of us use Safaricom, a lot of us use Airtel, Telecom. We use all these bank applications, but have you really ever read the terms and conditions? In fact, I want to know this one. Able just type in the comments. Have you ever read the terms and conditions of your service provider, whether it's your telephone service provider or your bank service provider? Able just type yes or no. I won't judge you, by the way. Chances I haven't shared yet, so don't even worry. You're in good company. But that's the thing. For a very long time, they could hide under the terms and conditions and say, you see, under clause 1057 point CCCC subsection I, a very small footnote, and a very, very minuscule thing that's hidden somewhere. They'll tell you, you consented to sharing your information. I think that has always been the problem. And when it goes to court like that, they say this was a willing buyer, willing seller. You knew what you were getting into. The contract is very clear here. It's in small print, but it's right there that you consented to these things. So now what the Data Protection Act has done is you can't hide under such clauses anymore. You have to proactively tell your customers this information, and then they have to know upfront. So when you talk about informed consent, those are the things now people need to see. And then it's like you bombard me with requests for consent at every step. You make sure I understand that thing like inside out. If you have to translate it to different languages, then you do. Because I don't understand how you expect someone from Migori has never been to school but is subscribing to your service, and your service, all the terms are in English only, and you expect them to understand what they were signing up to and say it's their fault. No, it will get to a point where you have to translate it into native languages, do demonstrations like this like the scam. They keep saying it's people's fault because they've already been wamekuwa wakitangaza kwa mtandao that these are the numbers that should call you from the banks. That's not enough effort. That's not enough effort. Me, I don't go to the internet. I am very old. I don't know English. I don't even know what the internet is. You have to call me. You have to call me and tell me if any other number apart from this one calls you, it's a scam. This is how to, you have to really do thorough tutorials as banks now. You can't just leave it up to people to reach out to you and find out, is this a legitimate or... Let me give an example. Recently, an email came to me from a bank. So it looks pretty, I think, okay. The email address was from the bank account. Let's call the bank account commercialized. So it was someone at commercialized.com. So it looked pretty. So I asked her, if I wanted to find out if you are truly an employee of this bank, how would I go about it?
Yeah.
And she starts telling me, no, you just trust me. I'm like, no, I don't trust you. This is the internet. I don't trust you. Someone could have...
What?
Exactly. So me, a whole 30-something-year-old who knows how to use the internet, I have to now start studying how to call the bank. Then I call the bank, the customer care line, and I'm asking them, how do I know whether so-and-so is a member of your company? And then the person you get has no idea how to carry out that kind of search.
Yeah, but they do this all the time. And sometimes when they're calling you to go collect your checkbook and stuff like that. But Marcy, I want us to change gears a little bit here. Closer home on Facebook or Instagram or any other social media platforms where people get to chat and, find dates of future husbands and wives. How do you know that the person you're dealing with is actually a real person? Because a lot of people have had their identities stolen. And I know a lot of people who've actually disabled their Facebook accounts on account of people cloning them, cloning themselves to be, presenting themselves as you. So somebody
Yeah.
goes, create a page and they become you and they carry on as you. They even send, I don't know if you remember, there are times where a lot of these journalists and celebrities were disabling their accounts or ending up sending messages on their Facebook or Instagram pages saying, if you got a message from this account, it's not me, I've been hacked. And there were some people who are sending emails. Those are 419ers. In fact, I want to tell guys, there's a book that you guys need to read. It's called I Do Not Come to You by Chance.
Good book.
That
Good book.
book, that book is
Good
an excellent book
Yeah.
on 41. They're called 419ers, and this is a trend that's really, really big in Nigeria, where a lot of people get conned about those emails that I'm the late Tanya Bacha's wife, and he left us a lot of money when he died, so we can't access that account. So we need to get, if you could just give us your bank account details, then we'll channel the money through your account. Then when the money hits your account, you can share some of the loot with us. A lot of people have gotten those emails. Some maybe out of ignorance, because we don't want to say that people were greedy, decide, yes, this is something legit, and you end up giving your bank account details. They are cleaned. So back to, you're chatting, you're seeing a pretty face on Facebook, you're seeing a handsome dude, and you slide into the DM and you start chatting. And this could be just some random, bad looking guy somewhere at Committee Maximum Prison, chatting you up and then telling you, oh, Sijui, I'd like us to meet, send me a photo. People have stock photos. And we talked about this in our last, we're going to talk about it actually in the next podcast.
Yeah, in this one,
about people's identities just being lifted off their social media accounts, and they send you pictures, and you think, wow, I've met the love of my life. Nimepata bwana ama nimepata bibi. You guy, you start chatting, sijui nini, where we're going to meet. Oh, and then shortly, my mother is in hospital. I have to fly from the States to come and see her, but now it's such short notice. I need to do 200,000 for me to book my plane ticket. Please, babe, love, sweets, hizo majina zote, your phone, all of them. Tuma pesa, tuma fare.
Let me tell you the first rule when it comes to catfishing.
Yes.
If the photo is too perfect, it's not real. There has to be mistakes. Unless
what
the person is
we can't take hot photos.
No. Even you look through your timeline, you don't have 100% perfect photos all the time. There has to be one where you're in the shamba. As in, there has to be a realistic one. Like, unless you're an influencer, if you look through an influencer's timeline, it looks like a fake page because everything is staged. Everything is perfect.
Like that.
If you're drinking tea, it's like a certain angle, it's a lot of work. It's a production.
So that's the first sign. So that's the first sign.
The first sign is, for example, if you're chatting up with a dude and all his photos, he's like,
hi, Linda.
This buffed up dude with like abs, like from here to, I don't know, Jerusalem or where the challenge we're doing. He looks too good to be true. And then when you scroll down, it's similar photos of just his perfect physique, and nothing else. If that's all you can see in his timeline, that's a catfish. Like, let me not even lie to you, that's a catfish. If you think about it, even you think about your own timeline, in your photos, there'll be a photo you have been tagged where you're the ugliest in the photo. Then the next one, you'll pull all the stars and you'll be like the star of the sea. You'll be the star of the sea in that photo. Then the next one will be like a random photo of some meme. Like natural timelines don't look perfect. Natural timelines are a chaotic place. Even for people who try and curate them, they're quite chaotic. There's a show on Netflix actually called The Circle, where they're supposed to go around guessing who is the real guy you're chatting with and who is the catfish.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So the one lesson that show shows you is you can even tell a catfish from their profile photo.
Yeah.
You
So
can
the
tell a
catfish
catfish.
is basically people. Okay, so a catfish is the same people who do identity theft, or
Yes,
it's likely
yes.
that it's
A catfish is someone who's stolen someone else's identity. They're posing as
yeah,
them. So, like, you find there's a
yeah.
page written Maria Benek and it's not Maria. So that's a catfish.
So they've
Yeah. So I
taken all
mean,
my
it's
hot
fancy
photos.
language. Yeah, they've taken all your photos. They post one photo after. I think even someone on Twitter who was outed the other day that they've been a catfish. Yet I
Yeah.
think she causes the most drama on Twitter. She creates so much controversy.
What?
So now when people learn she's a catfish, you're like, we feel very played. And she posts photos of
They've been
herself.
arguing with her.
Yeah, they've been arguing all the
Oh
time.
my god.
So yeah, anyway, and then there's some tricks people have been using to catch catfishes. So like there's a trend going on TikTok. If you by then myself, I'm on TikTok. Linda is always judging me for being on TikTok, but I'll tell you where I'm on TikTok. Anyway. So
Teach
like
us one
there's
of
a
the
trend going.
dances.
No. This is not only for dances. You need to get rid of that idea. It's actually a very educational place.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm so serious. So one of the challenges on TikTok is take a photo while something is moving, so that I know it's really you. Okay. So
Yeah.
someone will tell me like, take a photo with a comb. You see like how I have a comb, and then
Yeah.
like move it from right to left. Then I know it's really you. But then this catfish is smart. So there's now a money making scheme where you can, like the catfish says, okay, so hello, I want to date this dude, but I'm not very good looking. I
Yeah.
realize your photos look very nice. Give me permission to use your photos as if they're mine, and then I'll be paying you $10 per month. Like that's what catfishes are doing nowadays. Yes, it's a money making opportunity, girl. Make that money.
Okay. So, and what
Yeah,
about
so
these people who tell you on Instagram that I have a ready page. If you want followers, I can sell you my page.
I mean, that's business. Like, can you really fault them for that? That's just business. That's someone being smart
So
about it. So, like I was
they
telling
create
you about
account in
that
your,
one.
yeah,
So in that case, like in the one I was describing, like they text the person that they're cloning and be like, send me a photo of you doing this. So
yeah,
you would not catch them because they'd always go back to the person. But anyway, the thing is, 100% you can't be like 100% sure that the person you're
mm,
chatting with is the right person, which is why when it comes to sensitive things like your financial information, just always
yeah,
assume the person you're talking to is not the person that they're saying they need to be. In the case for
yeah,
like your bank instructions, a lot of us started our bank accounts just straight out of
yeah,
campus. We're like in
yeah,
our early 20s or things like that. So the
yeah,
instructions we give the bank are like really flimsy. They'll be like,
mm,
email me at mercy@yahoo.com,
yeah,
things,
mm,
very, very flimsy instructions to the bank. So this is
yeah,
like a really good time to go back to your bank and update those instructions. And the one thing
yeah,
you should tell your bank to do is before you do any payment, call me.
yeah,
Call me. Call me. I
absolutely,
don't care how many times you have to call me in a day. Call me
yeah,
before you hear my voice, before like, and then have that's where the security question thing comes in. It's good to have a
mm,
security question with the bank where they ask you
mm,
and only you know the answer, and let it not be something obvious like what was my nickname when I was growing up. So many people
yeah.
know your nickname when you were growing up. Let it be something only you
You
know.
know it was my Hotmail account. Oh my
You
gosh.
have a Hotmail account. Oh my
I
god, you're
had a
old.
Hotmail account. I'm ancient, by the way. I had an email account when you were in probably in nursery school.
Yeah, I'm very young. Like I'm in my teen years, teenager. So
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
had
even
an
know.
Hotmail.
No wonder you all are allergic to TikTok. You're so ancient. You're so ancient.
I put leave us, please. Leave us alone.
Anyway, do you guys have questions? Like we've been chatting about security and catfishing and
Yeah.
identity theft, but like, do you have a specific question on something you've encountered online or something you've gone through?
Mhm.
Uh, if someone by the way, if someone has been a victim of these scams that are currently going on with the banks, like let them
Mhm.
not be ashamed write a letter, even if it's a handwritten letter, write a letter to the bank. Tell them,
Yeah.
it's you, it's not me. You know, when you're breaking up with someone, you say it's me, it's not you. Now you flip it. Like it's you, it's not me. Number
Yeah.
one, return my money. Return my money.
Yeah.
Number two, I'm going to court. Even if you don't intend on going to court, just tell your bank that you'll see what they do immediately with a quickness. That story will change from it's your fault, you should have taken more care before you're talking to whoever you're talking to. Immediately they'll call you, oh, come we sit down, let's see how we can resolve this matter. Please don't, they don't like going to court. So if you know someone who's gone through that thing by there, I'm very serious. Even if you don't want to get a lawyer, just advise them to do a letter to the bank. And the letter is not a woye letter. It's your fault. I came to you. You're supposed to protect my money. My money got stolen. So it's your fault. Now pay me. Like straightforward like that. Yeah. That's how it needs to be.
Yep. So any questions, feedback, we're happy to hear it from you. We got this on live for you, hoping we could discuss basically what's happening with the identity theft, excuse me, and basically for you to understand how your bank account can just be minus all those zeros that you had saved up for that holiday in Diani that you wanted to go to, you know, that cabrot that you had timed. You know, things can happen. And if you just take a few simple steps with your online behavior, you can really, really protect yourself from being hacked or from your identity from being stolen. So would be happy to hear from you. We are live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're going to be dropping our third episode this Friday.
And this is a juicy one. This is a very juicy one. You don't want to miss this one.
Very juicy. You don't want to miss it. It's very, very juicy. It's about things that you do every day online.
Yep.
And how they come back to bite you.
In the ass.
Yeah, so I guess we don't have questions today. We'll leave it at that. Massey, anything before we sign off?
Yes, so now we are happy to announce that our podcast is available on all platforms, all of them. Yeah. So if you listen on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, some of them, I can't even pronounce their names. Like there are so many podcasting platforms, but whatever you use, including just going online, like even if you just go online and you don't have any application, you can even send through your computer. We have, you know, a Macau, like Ndani Zani. We have very rumble everywhere. We have very rumble everywhere.
I don't know you right now.
Proud to be cowgirl. Proud to be cow. I can karaoke, but I don't want karaoke. You know, so I'll just stick to my courses and tell you that every Friday 9 a.m. a new episode is out. So far, we've covered sending nudes online. Please, if you haven't listened to that podcast and you have a boyfriend or girlfriend somewhere, I know you usually send each other nudes. You better send podcast. You better go. No. It's a debate for another day, but you go and listen to that podcast too. Go listen to it.
Yeah.
Because I know here people like to send nudes a lot. I know all of you. Yes, I know people send nudes. Even Maria, she says it's bad to send nudes, but I know she does it.
Me.
Even if you ask me, will you scare happy? I know you do.
Oh, how you? So now, guys, if you've not liked our pages, please do so. Like our page, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We're there. We're with very nice pictures, not Photoshop. For season 1, we have a lot of audio, so we'll definitely be dropping video for the next season. But you guys like the page, subscribe to it. We've got a lot of content that you would love. And you can listen to our previous episodes. It's the beauty of podcasts. You can always listen to us, even if you missed it. So from episode 1 to episode 2 now that we're discussing on this live chat, and to the next one that we're going to drop on Friday. Like us, subscribe, follow, and we'll definitely be engaging with you guys. It's been real.
And we'd like to know what you think. We'd like to know what you think about the podcast, what topics you'd like for us to cover. Please talk to us.
Nice. So I'm signing off now, Marcy. So we'll see you guys next time. Until then,
Tiwaina
Tiwaina.
sana.